Never touch this bug with your bare hand. If you ever see an insect shaped like this, flat body, narrow head, long legs, and colored markings around the edge of the abdomen, stop before you crush it, swipe it away, or pick it up, because this may be a kissing bug. And unlike most insects people find around a backyard, this one has a reason to be taken seriously. At first glance, it does not look like the most terrifying creature in the yard. It is not huge. It does not jump at you. It does not charge across the ground like a spider. In fact, it can look quiet, slow, and almost unremarkable. But that is exactly why it is so dangerous to underestimate. The kissing bug belongs to a group of blood-feeding insects known as triatomine bugs. Before feeding, the body is usually thin, flat, and dark. The head is narrow, almost cone-shaped. Underneath that head is a rigid feeding tube, built to pierce skin and draw blood. Along the edge of the abdomen, many species show orange, red, or yellow markings that help distinguish them from some other insects. That does not mean every bug with a similar color pattern is a kissing bug. Some harmless insects can resemble them from a distance. But when you combine the flat body, the narrow head, the folded beak-like mouthpart, and the colored edge around the abdomen, the warning signs become much harder to ignore. And this is where the real problem begins. Kissing bugs are blood feeders. They come out when conditions are calm, often at night, and they search for warm-blooded animals. Heat, odor, and the carbon dioxide released by breathing all help guide them toward a host. That means a person lying still can become a target. The bug does not need speed. It does not need aggression. It only needs enough time to settle onto exposed skin and begin feeding. And once it does, the process is unsettling to watch. The mouthpart presses into the skin like a tiny needle. Then the bug begins drawing blood. Sometimes the host notices irritation. Sometimes there is itching. Sometimes there is so little immediate pain that the feeding goes unnoticed. As it drinks, the body changes. A thin, flat insect begins to swell. The abdomen expands further and further as it fills with blood. What looked almost light and dry before feeding becomes thick, rounded, and heavy afterward. The bug becomes visibly bloated from the meal it has taken. That alone is disturbing. But the blood meal itself is not the only reason this insect matters. The greater danger may begin after the feeding is over. Some kissing bugs carry a microscopic parasite called Trypanosoma cruzi. This parasite is associated with Chagas disease, an infection found mainly in the Americas, and the way it reaches the body is one of the most important things to understand. The parasite is not usually delivered like venom through a sting. Instead, an infected bug may defecate near the place where it has been feeding. That detail matters, because once the bite begins to itch, a person may rub or scratch the area without thinking. If contaminated material is moved into the bite wound, broken skin, or the eyes, the parasite may then enter the body. That is why this insect deserves so much caution. The danger is not just that it feeds on blood. The danger is that it may leave infectious contamination close to the place where it fed. And once the parasite gets inside, the problem becomes much bigger than a simple insect bite. In the body, Trypanosoma cruzi can invade cells and begin multiplying. The animation makes that process easier to understand. The parasite enters tissue, moves into cells, changes form, reproduces, and spreads. From there, it can circulate through the body and affect important organs. In the early stage, some people may develop symptoms such as fever, fatigue, swelling, or general illness. Others may experience very little at first. That is part of what makes this infection so difficult. The initial signs may be mild, easy to miss, or mistaken for something else entirely. But the story does not always end there. Over time, Chagas disease can become more serious. It may affect the heart. It may affect the digestive system. It may remain hidden for years before the long-term damage becomes obvious. In some cases, the infection never progresses into severe disease. In others, the consequences can be life-changing. And that is the reason the kissing bug stands apart from so many other insects that people see around a home or garden. It is not the loudest insect. It is not the largest insect. It is not the most aggressive insect, but it may be one of the few backyard bugs that truly deserves immediate caution. So where do these insects come from? The footage from field research helps answer that question. Kissing bugs are not random invaders with no connection to the landscape. They are part of a broader natural system. Researchers find them in dry environments, around animal shelters, in natural hiding places, and in areas where wild mammals are present. They may be found in wood, brush, debris, nest-like material, and protected spaces where they can stay hidden during the day. That is why research often happens in places like wood piles, branches, rough habitat, hidden crevices, and sheltered outdoor areas. The bug survives by staying concealed, finding a blood source, and returning to cover. The map footage reinforces another important point. This is not just a single, isolated story. Kissing bugs and Chagas-related concerns have been documented across parts of the Americas, including areas connected to the southern United States and Mexico. So for some viewers, this is not a distant tropical problem. It can be closer to home than expected. And when a bug like this moves from natural habitat into a more human space, that is when people are most likely to notice it. Around a house or backyard, possible hiding places become easier to understand. Wood piles can provide cover. Gaps in structures can provide shelter. Stacked materials, cracks, shaded debris, outdoor clutter, and areas close to animal resting sites can all create opportunities for an insect like this to remain hidden. That does not mean every pile of wood contains kissing bugs. It does not mean every insect in a crack is dangerous. But it does mean the environment around a home can make it easier for the bug to stay unnoticed. And that brings us back to the first rule: do not touch it with your bare hand. When people see an unfamiliar insect, the instinct is often immediate. Pick it up, crush it, wipe it away, press it into the wall, grind it into the ground. End the problem quickly. That is exactly the wrong way to handle a suspected kissing bug. Direct contact is the mistake you want to avoid. If the bug has fed, if it is contaminated, or if it is carrying material that should not be smeared onto skin, then crushing it carelessly becomes a risk you did not need to take. The better lesson from this footage is caution. Recognize the shape, respect the risk, avoid bare-handed contact, and pay attention to the places where this insect may be hiding. The treatment footage around foundations, outdoor cracks, and sheltered spaces also makes one practical point very clear. When a bug like this is a concern, the focus is not only on the insect itself, but on the spaces that allow it to remain close to the home. Hidden gaps matter. Sheltered edges matter. Cluttered outdoor areas matter. Protected cracks and wall openings matter. The more cover an insect has, the easier it becomes for it to stay near people and animals without being seen. That is why awareness matters just as much as reaction. If you know what the bug looks like, understand how it feeds, and understand why contamination after the bite is such a concern, you are far less likely to dismiss it as just another harmless insect. And that is the purpose of this warning. The kissing bug does not look dramatic enough to make most people stop and think. But it should, because this is one of the rare backyard insects whose danger is not based on panic, exaggeration, or appearance. It is based on what it does. It feeds on blood. It can carry a parasite. And under the wrong conditions, it can leave behind far more than a bite. So if you ever see a bug shaped like this, flat, dark, narrow-headed, with a beak-like mouthpart, and colored markings along the abdomen, do not touch it with bare skin. Do not crush it casually. Do not assume it is harmless. Take it seriously. Because the one backyard bug you should actually fear is not the one that looks the most violent. It is the one that feeds quietly, hides well, and may leave the real danger behind after it is gone.